We live through our mind. We experience life through our mind. We feel through our mind. We think through our mind. We interact with the world through our mind. It's through the mind we get to know our pleasures and joys. It's through the mind that we feel our pain. Life is actually an experience very internal. Although we get stimulated by the external environment, but it's our mind where we feel and know life. Therefore, to understand the mind is a very important aspect of life. We don't know it, and that's why we keep falling in pitfalls. We don't know the mind, we don't know the experience of how to be aware of the mind. It's actually the mind which we need to solve. Our problems are within our mind, and it seems the solutions are also within the mind. How mein dirag rog hai, daru bhi is mahe, says Guru Nanak. The ego is a disease, and the solution also lies with it. In fact, Guru Nanak has given the mind a very important place in spirituality. Man jeete, jag jeet. And then he does talk about a process of how to be aware of the mind and how to transcend it. To win the mind is win over the world. To win the mind is to win over the world. If we don't win the mind, we all go losers. I welcome you to start understanding the mind, to explore it together, and to see what are the possibilities of knowing it better. How do I become more aware of my own mind? And where are the problems within me? And where are the solutions? This is what I invite you all to come and share.
So ego being the tool-based mind, the mind which I use as a tool to interact with the world. If I don't have a personality, I cannot deal with the world. I have to have a personality to deal with the world. And behind the personality is the ego, which stands as a foundation to build a personality. So all of us have our own egos, and on those egos is our personality built up. And on those egos is our whole life built around. We define ourselves, our nature, our work process, our identity to the external world and to us internally as well. We don't know any other mind but the ego-based mind, which is in constant change. So the word sansar comes from there, constantly changing. So this is where I have lived all my life so far. I wake up in the morning, I could get angry. In the afternoon, I could be at peace. In the evening, I could be loving. And in the middle, I could be frustrated. All these different emotions and thoughts will pass through my mind within the same day. So the question should be asked, who am I? Am I the peaceful person, the philanthropic person, the lying person, the good person or the bad person? Because all these are the changing phenomena on the surface of my mind. All these changes, all these thought changes and action changes are happening on the surface of my mind. And they do impact the underlying subconscious and unconscious minds, because what I repetitively do forms my sanskars, forms what I do unconsciously again and again and again. So like a track cut in a spool, in a music spool, when you cut a track, the needle keeps falling into that spool and plays the same music uninterruptedly. Just like that, our mind falls into a groove. And we keep repeating the same errors or actions again and again. And these literally control us, because that's what forms the baggage of my mind, the known mind. the mind which I have known, people around me have known. So in this, ego is not per se a wrong or a bad thing here. I will go into this a little later. But let me go into an important dialogue which I would like to share with you. In the dialogue between Guru Nanak and the Siddhs and the ascetics, in the Siddh Gosht, there is a question about life. He says, Kit kit bid jag upje purkha, kit kit dukh binas jai. How does the world come about? Kit kit bid jag upje. How does the world upaj, get created and formed? Kit kit dukh binas jai. And how does my pain and sorrow go away? And Guru Nanak says that how may which jag upje purkha. It's in my ego that the world is formed. It's in my identity, the formation of my identity, that I know and create and deal with the world. Naam bisare dukh pai. And I will go into this naam a little later, but he says, Naam bisariye dukh pai. Having forgotten naam, we are in pain. What is naam? Is a very intense subject by itself, but we'll go into this later. Maybe touch on it in the spheres of the mind. But I just want to take you to this journey, to the journey where the mind has an identity and I know only this moving and changing mind. Bhagat Kabir says very interestingly, Bande khoj dil har roz, na phir pareshani maahe. He says, Ved kate biftara pai, dil ka fikr na jaye. The worries of the mind don't go away. Reading, knowledge, discussions, debates, all about life, but then worries have not gone away. Tukdam karari jo kare, hazir hazur khudaye. When one's mind stands still, focused and fresh, the Creator is present in that mind. Tuk dam karari jo kare hazir hazur khudaye. And then he invites us, Bande khoj dil har roz. Look into your heart, your mind. Because here, the mind in the West is just the thoughts and primarily, but it's not the emotions. Whereas in the East, the man contains a gamut of everything. Even the body is expressed through the mind. The indriyas are part of the mind, which is part of the physical form. So in the man lies also the emotions. And these emotions are the ones which drive our life. So here Bhagat Kabir says, Bande khoj dil har roz. Search your mind. So that's the other thing. We need to spend time with this tool of ours, which is the immensely powerful tool, the mind. We need to know it better. We need to be more aware of it. We go into it and deal through it subconsciously, unconsciously all the time, but not consciously so much. And this conscious awareness of the mind is dhyan. When we become watchers of the mind and we don't flow with it anymore. Like we stand by a river and let the river flow and watch the river, and we no longer are part of the river. And we become aware that I am not part of this river. Just like that, I can become aware that I am not part of this ego. That makes it more interesting for me. So these three spheres of the mind. Is there a fourth? We'll talk about that. He says, Is man ko koi khojo pai, tan chhute man kahan samai. Search this mind. It's not Kabir here, but in the Guru Granth it says, Is man ko koi khojo pai, tan chhute man kahan samai. Search this mind. Search the man. When the body goes, where does the mind go? Now here is the eternal question which we all ask ourselves. What happens to us when we die? So he says again, I invite you to look at your mind. It's through your mind we will know life. It's through the mind we will know death. And it's through the mind we will become aware of both of them. So he is inviting us. Tan chute. When the body goes, man kaha samai? Where does the man go? Where will these answers all meet us? These potent questions are so inherent in our life, but where do these answers lie? They all lie within the mind. So for an ease of understanding, I'll divide the mind into two phases. The known changing mind and the unknown unchanging mind. There is another fourth stage of the mind which the West doesn't talk about, but the East does. In the Guru Granth it's called the Unman, which is no mind. It's often called the Turya Avastha, the fourth stage of the mind, where one transcends this known mind and changing mind. And I will call this Unman, this Turya, as the unchanging stable mind of ours, where my personality is now dropped and I am here without my ego. In my nakedness, where I have lost my identity in the other mind, here lies the truth of life. Man tu jot saroop hai apna mool pachan. Here lies the root of the mind, which is entirely awakened energy of light, love, and pure bliss and joy. My personality can't meet this phase. So in reality, we don't meet God because our egos are dropped much earlier. Our ego gets dropped when we transcend from the changing mind to the non-changing mind. And it's this non-changing mind where all the solutions of our life lie, where our questions have been dropped now. And there is total bliss, satiation of hunger. I will go into one very loving Shabad of Bhagat Rav Das. He actually is talking about the state of our mind, that mind which is unchanging mind within us. The Turya Avastha, the Unman. And he talks about it as a city where he lives, where there is a city without sorrow, where there are no mistakes, no losses, nothing is stale, no insecurities. Forever there is stability. There is foreverness here. The joy and everything which we have is forever. There is no reason for it to be blocked or taken away from us. This is an immensely powerful situation. Immensely moving is this Shabad which he gives us. He says, Ab mohe khoob watan gaya pai, uha khair sada mere pai. I have found this great land, lovely land. Uha khair, forever I am taken care of here. Forever I am looked after here. Uha khair sada mere pai, Begampura seher ko nao, Duk ando nahi tehta. A city without sorrow. So this all joy and bliss here. Duk ando, no fear, no anxiety, na taswees, khiraj, na mal, no troubles, no taxes, no way of anybody losing anything here. Khauf na khata na tar zawal. No mistakes, no fears, no sense of loss, losing something we have. The Shabad is very long and beautiful, but basically I want to convey to you the signs of what this other state of mind is. So here is a city which exists in that other stable mind of ours. And you need a visa to get there. You need a passport to get there, and it's all within the mind. You need an approach, an attitude. You need transcendence from that changing mind. So, from a tragic mind to a blissful, peaceful, an aware and rejoicing mind. These are the two possibilities we have within ourselves. If we work towards it, he says we can go to that other mind, and he invites us there. Bande khoj dil har roz, na phir pareshani maahe. Eh jo duniya seher mela, dastgiri na hai. In this world is a meeting of very short span, and nothing will come in the hand from here. Everything we've earned here will be left here. But in the other sphere of the mind, all the joys, pleasures, and treasures of the world, so to say, reside, which can never be taken away from us. All these are possibilities within our mind. And he invites us to become aware, and maybe transcend, to move into a sphere of life where there is complete joy, stability, and rejoicing. This is the actual game of knowing my mind. To know that mind which I've always lived with, which has always been with me, and which unites us all together in love, joy, and in permanent bliss, in a stability and security which is absolute in its sense, a place where there is no loss, no mistakes, and nobody can harm us. There's a lot of power in moving into that sphere of the mind, the power of love, where we will be able to meet together and be in rejoicing forever. This is the key to the real world. This is what, during our living lifetime, we can move towards. Man jeete, jag jeet. Let's move towards that in intense prayer and in immense possibilities. Thank you.